Yeah, at the Detroit show, I was talking with one of your engineers, and he was saying that from, from Japan, that he favored fuel cells, and he wanted Toyota to go that route because the cost was much lower to reduce carbon than the pure electric vehicle. Is that the way you feel too? I know you had a slide up there, and will that be Toyota's direction in the future?
I don't set Toyota's direction, you know.
Right.
That's a
But
couple
based
paper
on
exam-
cost, does it make sense?
The cost of a lithium application, given the energy density, and a fuel cell application, both electric chemistries, cross at about a 100-mile range, somewhere around there. They actually do, okay? But the fuel cell is burdened with the infrastructure issue. Not that the electric stuff isn't burdened with tremendous amount of infrastructure. I mean, all this stuff that you've seen these guys waving extension cords around and saying there's no infrastructure is ridiculous. There's big infrastructure stuff happening. How that decision's going to get made probably is what the customers think, and the customers don't know right now. But if I was looking at outside what the customer experience would be, and I hate to do that, but let's look outside and let's look for a regulatory thing, it's probably going to be on how we account the carbon. Right now, if I was going to account carbon, I'm probably, with the laws that I see right now, I'm probably better off going steam reformated natural gas on a fuel cell. If I've got to pay for the carbon coming out of a coal-burning utility, if that's my responsibility, and I can't do anything about that, then I got a real problem on my hands. So it's a carbon accounting issue. I mean, as I said earlier, we're going in this thing where it's not just a market pull anymore, it's a regulatory push. And since it's a regulatory push, you've got to look at how those regulations get developed and where they're going to go.
You just said it's not a matter of just waving an electric cord around and
Yeah.
it's solved. So what do you see as the biggest infrastructure issues for plugging in?
We can talk to you for years about this, but it's basically how my car communicates to the grid. And if I'm going to drive an electric car from here, I'm going to go through San Diego Gas and Electric, Southern California Edison, LADWP, and I think one other electric grids, and none of those grids talk to each other. So it's not like my cell phone where I can make a cell phone call from anywhere in California and it comes up in my home bill. So how you do that, nobody knows yet. So there's no way for the car to talk to the grid to standardize yet. I know they're working on it, but it's not done. And then there's no way for the car to talk to the customer. You know, you may want your car to charge here while you're here at this meeting, and you may have something in mind that you're going to do later on. And how you start and stop your charging and how you handle that and how you handle the pricing, those applications aren't done yet. That's a huge amount of stuff to do. Who pays for the charge? I mean, is there daytime charging? Do we regulate charging to only off-peak? And if that's the case, and it's only off-peak, then it's generally coal-based power, okay? Because that's what the base power load is. If that's the case, then are you going to pay for the emissions, the carbon emissions? That stuff's going on. I mean, it's just, do you want to charge your car when you first get home and leave that car charged all night, knowing that accelerates the calendar life degradation of the battery? All that stuff still's got to be done. Who pays for the charging infrastructure? If I'm making $35,000 and living somewhere up in LA trying to send my kids to high school, do I want to subsidize the charging infrastructure from somebody who's buying a Bolt or a Tesla on the other side of LA? That kind of fairness stuff. It's all. I urge you to get on the look at the California Public Utilities Commissions and look at the notice of filings from the people who represent the ratepayers, the people who represent the utilities, the people who represent the OEMs. There's all of this stuff that needs to be decided, and that's why I say the infrastructure is not there yet, including the transmission and distribution to the house, the transformers, and all that stuff. In fact, some of the dealers on the early stuff on the Leaf, they're saying they want a 60-day moratorium so the grid can go, the utilities can go out and look at the actual neighborhood to see if there's other cars clustering there, because you know the Priuses cluster by zip code. So we assume that electric cars are going to cluster by zip code. And that's, you know, if you look at that, then there's a whole lot of stuff to worry about. And the other thing, finally, is if you buy a car and you need a charger, who is going to come to your house and tell you that your 65-year-old house can or can't take that charger, and the aluminum wire and all that stuff has to be removed and brought up to code? How does that happen at a normal transaction? So all that has to be sorted through.